see our fighting Texas Aggie Corps cadets out there. Welcome to Texas A&M's 18th Annual Corps Hall of Honor. As we begin today's events, may I ask the Corps Chaplain, Packer Stevenson, to provide the invocation. Packer?
Thank you, General Ramirez. Please bow your heads with me. Father, we thank you for the gift of another day, and we praise you for the supreme gift of life. Thank you for Texas A&M, for the Corps of Cadets, for all the ways we are challenged each day to grow to be the men and women you created us to be. Father, you tell us that to whom much is given, much is expected. Please help us to follow in the example of the 9 men we are honoring today by always seeking to give to others, to not to be afraid of sacrifice for the greater good. Thank you for your word and your love for us, and we ask this all in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Packer. Well, it's great to see everybody here today for this very distinguished event. I want to first acknowledge the attendance of our president, Dr. Bowen Lofton, the 24th president of Texas A&M University. The Texas A&M University System Board of Regents has long supported the Corps of Cadets. Speaking on behalf of the Board of Regents today is Chairman of the Board of the Regents, Dr. Richard Box. Dr. Richard Box received his bachelor's degree from Texas A&M University in 1961 and a doctorate of dental science from the University of Texas Dental Branch in Houston in 1966. He is a doctor of dental surgery and has a private practice in the Austin area. Dr. Box is a member of the Capital Area Boy Scouts Board of Directors, the Texas A&M Lettermen's Association, the 173rd Airborne Brigade Association, and the National Guard Association of Texas. He served in the United States Army and is commander of the Texas State Guard. Dr. Box serves as the chair of the Committee on Buildings and Physical Plant and as a member of the Committee on Audit and Texas Growth Fund Board. He also serves as the board's special liaison to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Regent Box, may I call upon you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Regent Box.
Thank you, General Ramirez. Howdy. It's great to be here today on behalf of the Texas A&M Board of Regents to help honor the 9 outstanding Aggies who will be inducted into the Corps Hall of Honor. As an Aggie and a former member of Company H2 and 2nd Brigade staff, I know firsthand how important the values are that are instilled in us by this great university. As students, cadets learn the importance of honor, loyalty, service, patriotism, and leadership serving in the Corps. I've learned that if you take all those principles to heart, there isn't much more you need to know in order to succeed. In my role as a regent, I have the privilege to meet many Texas A&M students and former students. I enjoy seeing the excitement and enthusiasm of our current students as they talk about Texas A&M and their plans for the future. But I think it is the former students who are even more enthusiastic as they reminisce about the good times they had here, the traditions they took part in, and the lifelong friends they've made. And no group is more passionate about this university than those who were in the Corps of Cadets. There is a special connection among members of the Corps. We shared experiences that students from other universities really didn't and still don't understand. As we like to say, there is a spirit that can never be told. The men we honor today are examples of this unrivaled Aggie spirit and serve as a great role models for both current and former students alike. I thank them for their service to their country, their state, and our university. I also thank them for their integrity, generosity, and loyalty. You have made us all proud to call ourselves Fighting Texas Aggies. Congratulations and gig 'em.
Thank you, Regent Box. At this time, I'd ask our Corps Commander, Cadet Colonel David Keim, to briefly share his perspective on this very important event. David?
Howdy. It's a great morning to be a member of the Corps Cadets. This beautiful Saturday morning, I'd like to thank all of y'all for being here, all of our distinguished guests, all of our inductees. It's a real honor and privilege to be standing up here today and to have this honor to give a little perspective on what it's like to be a cadet, looking at all these great people on the stage. We came to Texas A&M for tradition. We joined the Corps Cadets to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Those of you up on the stage about to be inducted today, you have embodied that through everything you have done while as a cadet at Texas A&M and in your service and commitment to this great organization and this great institution after you graduated. You've all gone on to have outstanding careers in the military, in the private sector, and that's something that we as cadets strive for. We as students at Texas A&M hope to have. But more importantly, your selfless service, your willingness to give, and your passion for this university is something that I hope all the cadets that are here today will take from your example and carry on. Because that's what makes the Corps Cadets part of this university and the heart and soul of this university. That's why this university has continued to thrive, is the support and the generosity of people like yourselves. We always hear in 1876, Agricultural Mechanical College of Texas started with 40 cadets. And to see where we are today, with over 48,000 students and a growing Corps that's going to be over 2,600 in the next 5 or 6 years, it's all because of the support that we've been given from our former students and former cadets. With that, I'm going to go ahead and give way and just say thank you for all you've done. On behalf of the Corps Cadets, thanks and gig 'em.
Thank you, David. Since 1993, the Corps Hall of Honor has inducted 79 former cadets. The Corps Hall of Honor says to the world, these are our finest. It says, this is what the Corps experience can do for the individual, for Texas, and for our nation. It says to our cadets, if you follow these examples, you will achieve your life goals and you will lead others to achieve theirs. And you will do so with character, honor, and integrity. May I ask that all current members of the Hall of Honor here today or their family members please stand and be recognized. Today, we will induct 9 distinguished Aggies into the Corps Hall of Honor. Like those who have gone before, these 9 gentlemen exemplify the Aggie spirit. They possess the values upon which the Corps was founded: honor, integrity, loyalty, selfless service, patriotism, and leadership. They have achieved many honors in their lives, and today their Corps says to them, you will stand for all time among the finest leaders our institution has provided. You are the best we have to offer. As each inductee's name is called, I would ask that he or his representative please come forward to be recognized. Regent Box, Dr. Lofton, would you please come forward to assist with the inductions?
Michael T. Halbooty, class of 30, received a Bachelor of Science degree in Geology and Master's degree in Petroleum and Geological Engineering from Texas A&M. He was also the first recipient of a Professional Geological Engineering degree in 1956 from Texas A&M and a Doctor of Engineering in 1966 from the Montana College of Mineral Science and Technology. Recognized in the oil industry as one of the outstanding geologists and petroleum engineers in the United States, He was internationally renowned for his scientific ability in petroleum exploration. Halbooty was awarded the Association of Former Students Distinguished Alumnus Award, served on the Texas A&M University System Board of Regents, and received the Distinguished Alumnus Award in Engineering. The Department of Geology and Geophysics is housed in the 76,000 square foot Michael T. Halbooty Class of 30 Geosciences building complex named in his honor. Halbooty endowed 2 chairs in the College of Geosciences and many scholarships, which have provided, to date, funding for more than 120 graduate students in the fields of petroleum geology and petroleum engineering. Michael T. Halbooty, Class of 30.
Thank you so much for honoring my father today. He would be so proud to be receiving this recognition from the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M University. My dad lived his life celebrating this Aggie alma mater, and of course, living the honor of the Corps. Throughout my life, I have enjoyed stories and traditions of Texas A&M through my dad's experiences. So I am very honored today to be here, to be a part of this dedication, because he cherished this university, this place. I was unable to attend Texas A&M because women had not made their presence here yet. So I have asked the next best person to stand here with me, my brother, Tom Kelly, Class of 53. Tommy also answered the call. 58 years ago, he was a lieutenant colonel in the Corps of Cadets, and 56 years ago, a first lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force serving in the Korean War. Bro, it's your turn.
Thank you, sweet sis, for those kind words. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here as a co-representative of one of this year's inductees into the Corps of Cadets Hall of Honor. Michelle Halbooty graduated with a BS, as you heard, in 1930, followed by an MS in 31, and later a professional geological engineering degree in 56. Somewhere along the line, he picked up an honorary doctor's degree from the University of North Dakota. Someone described Mike Halbooty as an exaggeration. A peer opined, Mike's meaner and sweeter than the rest of us, tougher and gentler, smarter and more foolish, stingier and more generous. Certainly he was and is the epitome of what Edna Ferber, in her 1952 novel, described as the true Texas oil man. The book was not particularly flattering to many Texans. As a matter of fact, the gal Edna Ferber was castigated many times by some good hard-nosed Texans, but did make a good movie if those of you have seen it. But the name of the book was Giant, which aptly describes Mike Halbooty. He was a giant in geological vision of what eventually would become the complexities of salt dome geology. He was a giant in philanthropic grants to charities and foundations, including hospitals, churches, geological organizations, and societies, and particularly to his alma mater. He wasn't widely known, but many times the donations and gifts that he gave to organizations and the university was borrowed from the bank. But Mike was always convinced he'd pay it back, and he did. He was a giant in developing oil field engineering practices, an eloquent speaker on and author of countless geological and engineering topics early in his career, and later as an oil and gas philosopher. He was a giant mover and shaker of public policy, a confidant of conservative-minded politicians from Congress to the cabinet to the president. Born to Lebanese immigrants in Beaumont, Texas in 1909, he mastered the work ethic early as a grocery boy and later as a water boy and truck swamper at Spindletop Oil Field, which is the cradle of the modern oil industry. His early fascination with what makes the planet on which we live tick led him to pursue the geosciences in education. He never considered any school other than Texas A&M. He enrolled in Texas A&M in 1926, $50 shy of the registration fee, which at that time was $175 a year. He borrowed the money, the additional $50, from then college president T.O. Wilson, a visionary educator he had met only moments before when he asked him for a loan, without which he told the college president, "I'll have to go back to Beaumont and sell bananas." He paid the loan back before the end of the semester, mowing lawns for 25 cents an hour. In his senior year, Mike was an energetic person in the Corps, cadet captain in artillery. Virtually all his life, Mike believed that the greatest college was Texas A&M, the best Corps was Old Army, and that Texas was the only state to live and work in. He never wavered in his beliefs. An infantry captain in the Army Reserves at the beginning of World War II, Hal Booty reported for duty at Fort Benning 2 months after Pearl Harbor. He was the first class of Army officers preparing for war, and the preponderance of the class were West Pointers. Hal Booty graduated at the top of that class. A zealous patriot, he wanted to ship out with the 1st Infantry Regiment to go overseas and fight the enemy. But the Army made him an instructor at Fort Benning, and shortly thereafter, the military chiefs called him to Washington and promoted him to major, dispatched him to South America, where he became a cog in the Army-Navy Petroleum Board, which was responsible at that time for providing oil from far-flung areas in the Western Hemisphere. His work was critical to securing sufficient oil production in support of the Allied war effort. Mike emerged from the war as Lieutenant Colonel Hal Booty, was often referred to years later in the oil patch as Colonel, and became one of the most successful wildcatters in the business. He had discovered his first oil field 6 weeks after finishing college, and in the next 20 years, if you take out the 4 years that he was in the military, he was responsible for more than 30 oil and gas discoveries, several of which were giant oil finds in the state of Texas and in other states in the country. In real life, he was always 2 steps ahead of his income. He made fortunes and subsequently lost them. He reached into the unknown in areas of geologic theory, sometimes proving a point and other times having his dreams dashed. If there ever was a person who could be said fits the picture envisioned by Rudyard Kipling's memorable poem, If, it was Mike Hal Booty. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. His love for A&M, pride for what it stands, the no lying, no stealing, no cheating doctrine all Aggies embrace, was never distant in his mind. A loss to TU ruined the night for everyone, but a victory perpetuated endless euphoria for days. A man of vision, great courage, total self-confidence. A man of dedication to principle, more concerned with proving a point of fact in science or sociology than making a profit. He truly was a giant of a man named Mike Hal Booty. I'm very partial, as you can see, but thanks a lot for inducting him into the Corps Hall of Honor. I'm very grateful, as I know he would be. Thank you.
Charles A. Matee, class of 49, received a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Texas A&M. He began his career with the Gulf Oil Corporation in 1949 and retired in 1985 after 36 years of service, which included Vice President of the Southern Region. Matee then joined Citgo Petroleum Corporation as Vice President and also Chairman and CEO of both Citcon Oil Company and Cadets Oil Company, subsidiaries, until his second retirement in 1996. He has served as president of both the Beaumont and Tulsa A&M clubs and president of both the 12th Man Foundation and the Sol Ross Group. He also served on the Vision 2020 Task Force, the Corps Development Council, the Corps of Cadets Association, the Texas A&M President's Board of Visitors, and the President's Council of Advisors. In 2009, he was selected by the Houston A&M Club as Outstanding Houston Aggie. Matee has supported the Corps with several Sol Ross and Rudder scholarships, individually, with the Class of 49 and the Sol Ross Group. Along with his wife, Betty, they permanently funded the installation of concrete plaques in front of Duncan Hall, awarded to the Corps outfit since the 1920s as intramural champions. Matee's civic activities include past president of Rotary, Boy Scouts of Century Club, and 10 years on the Labor Day MDA Telethon with Jerry Lewis. Charles A. Matee, class of 49.
Howdy. Yeah. You know, I don't know really where to begin because this is quite an honor to be selected. When I was advised, I was overwhelmed. You know, to be included in so many distinguished inductees of the past and those being inducted today is certainly an honor that I did not expect. I came to A&M in the summer of 1945. This was an all-male, all-cadet corps school. A&M was on a trimester program at that time, as a lot of universities in the nation were, because of World War II. When I entered A&M in June of 45, the war in Europe had just concluded in May, but the Pacific fighting was still going on. And all of us expected it to last for many, many years. Now, I was a kid. I was 16. I was going to be 17 the following month. And when I came to A&M, it was mostly freshmen and sophomores, because at the end of their second year, they went into the service. In those days, we were known as the Kiddie Corps. And my plan was the same, 2 years in the service, and hopefully then OCS. In June of 1945, the war had been going on for 3.5 years in terms of this nation, and the country was still in a war mode. And most consumer goods were still being rationed. Meat, sugar, gasoline, tires, clothing, and no automobiles had been made in over 4 years, and auto parts were hard to come by. And I guess what I'm saying is, as a result of that, when I graduated from high school in San Antonio in May, a month later, my folks put me on a Greyhound bus for College Station. And it was, hasta la vista, baby. I had my foot locker, and 5 hours later, I ended up at the North Gate. And I slung that foot locker on my back and walked down to Dorm 9. And as a result, I started my career as an A&M student and a member of the Cadet Corps. As one can imagine, the campus then and today are quite different. But one thing I've noticed over the years is that being a member of the Corps today continues to instill the same qualities, the same values we experienced as Corps members some 60-odd years ago. The core values of honor, integrity, service, discipline. You still have them that we learned when I was here. And all of this experience in the Corps and the values that were instilled in me certainly helped me in my adult life and in my business career. Now, to you guys in the Corps, and I say guys, I mean the girls also, you are an intelligent group. First, for choosing A&M, then for being able to get in, and lastly, for being a member of the Corps. So I recommend to each of you, develop your leadership skills. Participate in all of the available leadership programs that this school offers. And get involved. Get involved in the many extracurricular activities that are on the campus. As being a member of student organizations certainly reinforces the leadership process. And when you graduate from A&M, and I'm assuming all of you will, you're going to be recognized nationwide as one of the best. A&M is a member of the Association of American Universities. This is an elite group of 63 universities in the nation. And your degree will come from one of these elite groups. And several months ago, or I guess it might have been last year, the Wall Street Journal published an article. They had conducted a survey of the Fortune 500 companies in the U.S. In their survey of these companies, ranked A&M as one of the most coveted schools in the nation for their graduates, second only to Penn State. And ahead of all of the Ivy League schools, and I don't remember another school in Texas that it was even ranked highly. And A&M, during World War II and since, has been recognized also for the quality of officers that went into the various branches of the military. Now, I could go on and give you additional honors and values and kudos given this great school and their graduates. But here's my bottom line to you guys in the Corps. You're intelligent, you're well-trained, you come from a school with high values, and you're respected, both in the business community and in the military. So when you graduate, or when your military career is, get involved. Get involved in volunteering for community service. Your generation is the future of Texas, the future of this nation. And the country needs people like you with the training, the integrity, and the discipline you have learned. You're recognized nationwide and from a school that's very well respected. You can become leaders of tomorrow, and this country, God help us, will need your help. In closing, I want to touch on a kind of a personal point, if I may. First of all, again, I'm very, very honored. This is, one of the greatest honors the school can give. And I'm very happy to see that my brother is also being inducted today. He was a good person. And I think back to the war years and of my parents who saved and put aside funds that enabled my brother and I to get a college education at Texas A&M. And how proud they would be today to see their sons inducted into the Corps of Cadets Hall of Honor. Thank you.
Colonel Thomas R. Parsons, class of 49, graduated from Texas A&M with a Bachelor of Science in Education and a reserve commission in the U.S. Army as Second Lieutenant of Field Artillery. During his 28-year military career, he served combat tours in both Vietnam and Korea and was also stationed in Germany and other locations, with Hawaii being his last tour of duty. Colonel Parsons' military awards include the Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal, Bronze Star Medal with 1 oak leaf cluster, Army Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, Army Occupational Medal, National Defense Service Medal with 1 oak leaf cluster, and many other ribbons. In 1971, Colonel Parsons assumed duties as Commandant of the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M, a position he held longer than any active duty officer. Colonel Parsons was a driving force in the support and success of Parsons Mounted Cavalry. Not only did Colonel Parsons revive the cavalry unit, but he also assisted the university in bringing Naval ROTC to Texas A&M in 1972. In 1974, he oversaw the integration of females into the Corps of Cadets and served as a key figure in the women's success in the program. He retired in 1977. Colonel Parsons' love for Texas A&M and its Corps of Cadets followed him throughout his lifetime. Colonel Parsons, class of '49.
Howdy. I'm not a good speaker, so I'm going to try to do my best. When I was asked to talk about Tom, I found that to be a very hard task. Because how do you take 28 years of military life, 6 years of commandant, 7 years as director of security? How do you do that in 5 minutes? Not going to be easy. So going through all his papers, I found out things that he wrote. Some were pretty good, some were not. So I'm going to read kind of a summary of his military life. Tom entered the Army on March 4th, 1949, as a reserve officer. At that time, such officers were not sent to service schools. For example, Dick Love, Dan Statham, Jack Kohler all attended 9-month field artillery basic training course. The only training I received was OJT, on the job. Obviously, they were better field artillery lieutenants than I was during the Korean War. All returned as captains, except me. I finally attended the basic course 4 months in 1954. It was not until I was commissioned in the regular Army in 1955 that I became competitive, and did he. He was promoted to Major below zone in 1964 and Colonel below zone in 1979, and caught up and passed many RAs. He commanded 2 field artillery batteries in Germany. The battery scored the highest of any battery in the U.S. Army Europe in 1953. He also commanded 442 Field Artillery Battalion, the 120 HJ Battalion at Fort Lewis, Washington. He also attended the Sea and GSC College in 1964 and remained an instructor until Vietnam. He commanded the 46th Field Artillery Group, the 4th Infantry Division Artillery, and the 5th Mechanic Division Artillery in Fort Carson. He served as Chief Emergency Action Branch, a SINPAC, and the only lieutenant colonel on the battle staff. He was the only active duty officer to have served as Commandant of TAMU for 6 years, the only active duty officer to ever be recognized by the former Students Association. He was very proud of his military service. He was the kind of duty-driven person to the day he died. Now, to me, this reunion is kind of a bittersweet. I don't know if you both all remember that 2 days ago was Tom's 2nd anniversary. I miss him dearly. When I met him, He came to Houston one time for supposedly our first date. Guess where he took me? I guess you all can guess. Texas A&M. He showed me around the cave, took me to the green, took me to all the buildings, talked about everything. I hardly remember most of it, but it was a very good experience. Soon after that, I realized how much love Tom had for Texas A&M. His love was endless. And through him, I learned to love A&M as well. But my love came to full circle when my son graduated from A&M. Now I am an Aggie mom and an Aggie wife. Tom had a lot of stories, and I'll tell you a lot of stories. Most are nameless. But I found this little card that had a name of John Adams. Under it says, Vivo, Pantyhose, Sherry, History of the Corps, and Mooning TI. John, I think you know what all of this means, but I'm not going there. Tom was very proud of having Parsons Mounted Cavalry bear his name. He was approached by 2 senior cadets to revive the cavalry, and he approved the idea. He was really into approving the idea. Later, Mike Collins came and asked him for approval to organize the mounted unit. But one cannot think of the Cav without mentioning Dean Benson, Mike Sandlin, Captain Jim Holland and his wife Ann, who were equestrians, Sam Henry, Ish Shields, and John Fritz and Buck Henderson. These were the people that shaped the Cav. And I'm sure a lot of you don't know that the Cav barn was a gift from the Oaks Riding Stable in Houston. He felt he did not deserve the honor, but he cherished it until the day he died. I never met a more trusted, honest, patriotic person. His love for A&M was unconditional, and we will miss him dearly. And as my grandkids, Austin and Morgan says, Grandpa is in Aggie heaven. Thanks so much for the honor. Thanks so much for coming. And I will always remember all of you. Thank you.
Colonel James R. Woodall, class of 50, received a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Administration from Texas A&M and a Master of Business Administration from Shippensburg University. He is also a graduate of the Infantry School, Command and General Staff College, and the Army War College. He served 28 years in the regular Army and 2 and 4 years in the Naval and Army Reserves, respectively. He has served overseas in Germany, Korea, and Vietnam. Colonel Woodall's military awards include the Silver Star, 2 Legions of Merit, 3 Bronze Stars, 3 Meritorious Service Medals, 8 Air Medals, 3 Commendation Medals, and 2 Vietnamese Gallantry Crosses. His last military assignment was as Professor of Military Science and Commandant of Cadets at Texas A&M. He retired from the Army in 1982 and worked in the insurance and financial services business until 2002. He has served as a class agent, president of the Brazos County A&M Club, and is responsible for securing 4 of the 7 Medals of Honor awarded to Aggies in World War II for display in the Sanders Corps Center. His book, Texas Aggie Medals of Honor, details the search for the medals and the story behind each. As a cadet, he was a company commander, Ross volunteer, co-editor of the 1950 Aggieland, and a distinguished military graduate. Colonel Woodall, class of 50.
guess it's time for a howdy. And see, I had notes somewhere, but they may be at home. Well, this is a great honor, and I thank everyone for it. And it's been a long road to get here. But I had a wonderful wife and supporter, Gloria. I can't see anybody out there, but she's there. Now, I've always known that I was going to be an Aggie. When I was a kid, I would go over to my grandmother's house, and I would go in there. First thing I would do, go to the bookshelf. There's 4 Longhorns. That used to be what they call the Aggieland yearbook. 4 Longhorns. My Uncle Russell, class of 31. I would look through there, and of course, the first place I went to was the Cav, because I wanted to be in the Cav. Once I got here, I found out that the Cav had been deharshed about 3 or 4 years before I got here, but I was lucky, and they put me in the infantry. So I was on the way to A&M. But my other grandmother sat me down one day and said, Jimmy, said, I know you want to go to A&M, but I'd really like to see you go to Abilene Christian College. Said, if you'll go out there to Abilene, I will pay your way. I will buy you a brand new car. I said, wow. Now, in 1946, it was very difficult to get a car. You had to pay a premium. So I said, well, let me think about this. So a little bit later, I sat down with my grandmother, and I said, Granny, I can just see myself driving a new car out there to Abilene, but I think I'll hitchhike down to A&M and be an Aggie. And that's what I did. I actually didn't hitchhike down here. My dad brought me down, but from then on, I was on my own, and I hitchhiked all over Texas. So now, I want to say something to the cadets here, freshmen. I want you to understand how much you mean to the Corps, how important you are, and to the other cadets, how much you mean to the Corps and how important the Corps is. Now, a lot of you are going to go home in a month or two, back at your hometown. Well, you pick out these young students that you think might qualify for A&M and talk to them about the Corps. Now, if they're not interested in the Corps, tell them about Abilene and point out the highway to Abilene. And then later on in life, you're going to get married and have children. You talk to your children about A&M and about the Corps Cadets. Now, if they're not interested in the Corps Cadets, you buy them a car, and where do you tell them to go? Abilene, right. If they don't want to be in the Corps, there are a lot of highways that go to Abilene. So, now, what I'm going to say, do not let this get out of this room until I'm out of town. But and don't tell Bill Byrne, and don't tell Coach Sherman or Childress or Blair or the rest of them. Don't tell any of those coaches. But the Corps of Cadets is more important to Texas A&M than any of their teams. So recruit for the Corps. And thank you again, and God bless the Corps.
Joe Matee, class of 53, received a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Texas A&M. He began his career with Humble Oil and Refining Company, and next spent 2 years on active duty as a commissioned officer in the field artillery. While at Exxon, he worked in production, coal, minerals, and management with assignments in New York, Libya, Australia, and Texas. He retired from Exxon in 1992 and then served as president of EEM Enterprises, a financial and estate planning company, followed by a position as vice president of Carter Financial Management. Matee served on the board of directors for both the Association of Former Students and the 12th Man Foundation, and it was a member of both the Development Council for the Texas A&M College of Education and Human Development and the Engineering Advisory Council of the Dwight Look College of Engineering. He also served as past president of the Houston A&M Club and was a member of the Texas A&M President's Board of Visitors. Matee and his wife, Eddie, were early participants in the Endowed Diamond Century Club, and a room in the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center is named for the Matee family. Matee and his wife, Eddie, along with his brother Charlie Matee and wife, Betty, also funded a pillar at the Hagler Center, which houses the Texas A&M Foundation. Joe Matee, class of '53.
One thing I'll say is that Joe always knew he wanted to be an Aggie, and he wanted to follow his brother to Texas A&M. And his dad said to him, well, you can go to any college you want to, but I'll pay for your tuition at Texas A&M. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Corps of Cadets Committee for this honor you've bestowed on my husband. My family and I are very happy. Joe would have been honored to be among the distinguished group of Aggies, including his brother Charlie. This may be one of the first times when two brothers have been honored on the same day. Joe got his character and discipline from the Corps. He was an ultimate Aggie, always smiling and doing for others. While at A&M, Joe was a deputy corps commander. He really wouldn't be comfortable with me talking about what all he did, but he would want you to know that he loved Texas A&M, he loved the Corps, and he loved his fellow man. He did all he could do to help keep the Corps vibrant and alive, because he knew that the Corps was the heart and the spirit of the campus. He was on the board of visitors and enjoyed helping that group raise money for scholarships. As a Rudder and Sol Ross scholarship donor, he loved keeping track of the Corps recipients. Some of the early scholarship cadets that I especially remember were Brian Horseman, 93, who is now a Navy commander of training at Pensacola, Florida. Jason Lehman, 94, who was on the freshman drill team and appeared in the opening credits of A Few Good Men. Robert Spencer, he always loved a free meal. And Ashley Schoonover, who studied Russian in Moscow during her senior year at A&M. Joe would tell you to do whatever needed to be done and never worry about who gets credit for it. He believed in the 3 F's: faith, family, and friends. As his friends remember, he was always smiling. I think he knew there was something better to come. Thank you, and gig 'em.
Ronald L. Skaggs, class of '65, received Bachelor and Master of Architecture degrees from Texas A&M. Commissioned as a first lieutenant, He first worked for CRS Design Associates in Houston, and then fulfilled his military commitment in healthcare facility design for the U.S. Army Surgeon General at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Skaggs returned to CRS and then joined HKS Incorporated, an architecture, engineering, and interior design firm based in Dallas, becoming the chairman and CEO, and then chairman. A past national president of the American Institute of Architects, he has received numerous awards in recognition for leadership in the profession of architecture. He was awarded the Association of Former Students Distinguished Alumnus Award and was also named an outstanding alumnus of the College of Architecture, where he is an adjunct professor. He has served on the advisory board of the Texas A&M Foundation, as well as on the board of directors for the Texas A&M Association of Former Students. He is a past chairman of the Development Council of the College of Architecture, served on the Vision 2020 Task Force, was a vice chairman of the One Vision, One Spirit Capital campaign, and is a past chairman of the Texas A&M President's Board of Visitors. Ronald Skaggs, class of '65.
Howdy. President Lofton, Regent Box, General Ramirez, and all the Corps of Cadets. It's truly an honor to share the stage with each of the gentlemen being inducted today into the Corps Cadets Hall of Honor. I have a great respect for each of them. When I look back on these and those that have been inducted in the past, I'm especially humbled. As I reflect on the Corps Cadets and what it has meant to me, I think about those who came before us. Those cadets under the leadership of Lawrence Sullivan Ross, who endured many hardships while paving the way for this great university. The great legacy that was left by those cadets that responded en masse to the call in World War II. Without a doubt, they were the great generation. I had the privilege, along with many others on this stage, to be a member of the Corps when General Earl Rudder was president of Texas A&M in the 60s. That period was a turning event. We became a university. Membership in the Corps Cadets became voluntary, and women were admitted to A&M. Through General Rudder's vision, the stage had been set for the great university we have become. And lest we forget, the Corps Cadets has been and will always be the glue that makes Texas A&M a leader among universities. The 4 years I spent in the Corps and the accumulation of experience I encountered was that education that you can't get from a book. It not only prepared me for my active duty in the military, but more importantly, prepared me for my career in the business world. I knew from the age of 14 that I would be an architect, but I had no idea until many years later how significant the values received from the Corps would be in setting the direction for my career. I've had the opportunity to be involved in the design of hundreds of buildings throughout the nation and abroad. With that said, though, some of my favorites have been for great Aggies who were members of the Corps Cadets. George Linsky, class of '38 and chairman of the board of Children's Medical Center of Dallas. Bill McCord, class of '49, CEO of InSearch Corporation. Bartel Zachary, class of '54 and CEO of Zachary Corporation. And Ed Davis, class of '67, president of Texas A&M Foundation. The Aggie network runs broad and deep. I've had numerous mentors through my life. my parents, my pastor, school teachers, my scoutmaster, and many more. Many of my mentors had connections with Texas A&M. Ed Romanick, the first dean of the College of Architecture, who showed me the importance of pursuing excellence in all that you do. My graduate school professor, George Mann, who emphasized the importance of long-lasting relationships. Bill Caudill, the founder of Caudill Rowlett Scott, who taught me that good architecture requires a team. And Harwood K. Smith, class of 35, founder of my company, who emphasized that architecture is not only an art, but a business. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't mention the greatest influence on my life, which is my wife, Sandra. We started dating at the beginning of my junior year, and she was always there for me. Aggie football games, corps trips, town hall, military ball, ring dance, boot dance, and the list goes on. She's the mother of our 3 wonderful sons, and she is the grandmother of 3 special grandchildren. In closing, this is truly a special day for me, a day that I will always hold dear. I offer each of you my heartfelt gratitude. May God continue to bless this great university, and may God bless each of you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ed Davis, class of 67, received a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Journalism, a master's degree in Educational Administration, and a PhD in Higher Education Administration from Texas A&M. He has served as president of the Texas A&M Foundation since 1993 and served as interim president of Texas A&M University from December 2006 until January 2008. Before joining the foundation, Davis served in positions including Executive Deputy Chancellor for the Texas A&M University System, Vice President for Fiscal Affairs of Texas A&M University, and Vice President for Fiscal Affairs and Treasurer at North Texas State University. He is a tenured professor of Educational Administration at Texas A&M and has also served on the faculty at North Texas. He retired as a colonel in the Army Reserve, having served 4 years on active duty, including a tour in Vietnam with the 173rd Airborne Brigade. Davis is a member of the Endowed Diamond Century Club, the 12th Man Foundation Advisory Board, and the A&M Legacy Society. As a cadet, Davis served as commander of the Corps. He has held offices in local A&M clubs, the Association of Former Students, the 12th Man Foundation, and the Corps Development Council. Dr. Ed Davis, class of 67.
It's indeed an honor to be on the stage today with my fellow inductees. And Jim Woodall, thanks for giving everybody a comedic break and a little wake-up call this morning. I appreciate that. Thinking back to September 1963, equipped with a toothbrush, a can of Brasso, and a T-shirt, shining that little brass strip in the terrazzo tile just outside the shower on the 4th stoop of Dorm 2, my mind could hardly contemplate the arrival of this moment. Even after the intervening 48 years, as I've watched heroes and giants inducted into this hall, I couldn't envision myself among them. My thanks to the Corps of Cadets and those responsible for this selection, even if caused by a brief lapse of judgment, and for bestowing this wonderful honor on me and my family. Speaking of shining, I think back, I think I spent most of my waking moments my freshman year shining something. Shoes, boots, brass, Sully, upperclassmen's shoes, boots, brass. It took me several years to finally realize I wasn't shining those things. I was shining something quite different. It was my character. You cadets, when you finish your days in the Corps and you hear taps for the last time on the quadrangle, your perspective will also change. In my brief moment today, I want to speak about a few points of personal principle and philosophy that might shorten the time for that perspective to awaken in each of you. I began many years ago to make a list of my own personal principles. It became somewhat lengthy and continues to evolve. Some were formed in the Corps of Cadets and some only started there. But let me share three in the interest of time. First is the principle of the turtle on the fence post. If you find a turtle on the top of a fence post, you can bet it didn't get there by itself. Like the turtle, whatever your achievements in life, others will help put you there. Today, I want to thank my fabulous wife, Joanne, who has been at my side through triumph and tragedy for 43 years, a devoted mother and mate. Also here today are a number of members of my unabashedly maroon-tinted family. My brother-in-law, Philip Muse, class of 62, and his wife, Jeannie. Sister-in-law, Debbie Kellen, and her husband, Russ, both class of 80. My niece, Katie Kellen, class of 11. And by the way, I asked Katie to lunch today and asked if she had a date, and she said no. So for you male cadets, if you'd line up to the left by the exit sign. She's a bit picky, but one of you might not have to eat in Duncan Hall today. My nephew, Stan Kellen, class of 2019. My nephew, Kai Muse, class of 91, and his wife, Shannon. And my two great nephews, Skylar, class of 26, and Gavin, class of 27. All of these people have, and countless unnamed others, some here today, have had a positive role in my life. My children, Michael, 98, and Jennifer, could not be here, both working or raising grandchildren, but I appreciate them for making my life complete and in full technicolor. The second principle I want to mention is that integrity is non-negotiable. Integrity is the one thing you own completely. It cannot be bargained away. You either have it or you have none. You cannot sell it and you cannot loan it. In the core of my day, and I expect today, your success and advancement is based on one measure and one criteria only: your competence. I've had several opportunities in my public life to enhance my future by compromising my integrity, particularly at the invitation of politicians or politics. But my core training, which highly favored competence, not politics, always prevailed. And when I look in the mirror every morning, I am still comfortable with the person I live with, and you should be too. The third principle is to learn to juggle all the balls in your life. Life is complicated these days. 24-hour news cycle, the internet, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and my God, who knows what comes next. You'll spend the rest of your life managing schedules and priorities. I think of it as juggling balls. But to complicate things, they're made of different materials: wood, plastic, leather, but some are like precious crystal. You have to decide which are the most important and protect them with all you have. Some can be dropped and not damaged, and others, like family, faith, and friends, are more fragile. While you, the cadets, are at Texas A&M, one of those balls you are juggling is made of precious crystal. Your behavior and all that you do has to protect it. When you're tempted to do anything that might threaten its existence or reputation, pause to consider the grand history, tradition, spirit, and indelible impact on Texas A&M. That crystal ball is the Corps of Cadets. Finally, I want to share this recognition today with my class of 1967 comrades who did not return from Vietnam. They never had the opportunity to achieve this success. Rather, like generations of Aggie warriors, they made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. Thank you again, and God bless the Corps Cadets.
Jim Thompson, class of 68, received a bachelor's degree in architectural construction from Texas A&M. Following graduation, he joined the United States Air Force and served as an instructor pilot until 1973. After 10 years in the construction field, he founded James R. Thompson Incorporated, a commercial general contracting firm with offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. He served on the Kaufman ISD School Board for 15 years and helped found the Kaufman ISD Scholarship Foundation. He is a former trustee of the Texas Association of School Boards as well as the Kaufman County Appraisal District. He is a member of the Texas A&M's Construction and Industry Advisory Council, the A&M Legacy Society, the President's Board of Visitors, the Corps of Cadets Association, and the 12 Man's Foundation Advisory Board. He recently completed serving 5 years on the Board of Directors of the Association of Former Students. In 2000, he received the Outstanding Alumnus Award from the College of Architecture. Thompson has funded a President's Endowed Scholarship, 2 Sol Ross Endowed Scholarships, a Construction Science Endowed Scholarship, and a Core 21 Endowed Scholarship. As a cadet, Thompson was Commanding Officer of Squadron 4, 1st Platoon Leader of the Ross Volunteers, and a Distinguished Military Graduate. Jim Thompson, class of 68.
Howdy, Eggs. So that I don't take myself too seriously, my 3 Aggie sons are in the audience today, and their job will be to critique my comments, and I'm going to hear about it at supper tonight. But one of them's a Gator 2 fighter, and one's a Falcon 16 fighter. But fortunately, they brought their mom along, my girlfriend for the last 43 years, Donna Beth. She'll be giving me support tonight at dinner. I know big event is looming out there, and you've got a lot to do today. I just need 5 minutes. I know that all of you came here with dreams, and I can tell you that my classmates and I, 17, 18-year-olds in 1964, came here with dreams as well. Most of those dreams came true. A&M and the Corps made that possible for me. I may look like an old guy or maybe an old Army guy, but I've got a Fish Thompson still inside of me, and he still has dreams. But you know, Old Army means something different to each one of us, and I've got a couple of examples in my hometown of Kaufman, Texas, of what I think Old Army is. Major General Bill Becker is a class of 41. He was a Corps commander. He'll be 92 this year. And Alan Dees, class of 32, Earl Rudder's class, will be 100 years old. Both of those guys are friends of mine. They love for me to go visit them and talk about A&M and specifically the Corps Cadets. And if you want to think about Old Army, Alan Dees came here and was in a tent for a couple of years before they built the Hollywood Shacks, which was a big upgrade for him. And you can read about that in John Adams' books. But if they were here today, they would tell you that Old Army is not running around in the steam tunnels, not flooding dorms, not stealing Bevo. By the way, all those guys flunked out that was doing that. They would tell you first, get your education, get your degree, get the ring. Second, they would tell you, become a leader. Learn how to follow like a lot of y'all are doing right now, and then you can develop your leadership skills as you work your way through the Corps. And finally, they would tell you, establish your core values. What do you stand for? Respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, selfless service. These are some of the traits that the Corps has been teaching all of us for the last 135 years.
If you can hold on to some of them, you'll have a rock-solid foundation when you leave here. I got a short story, and I'll be done. But it is about how this ring connects all of us. I'm wearing 2 rings today. One's my class of 68 ring. And one is a class of 41 ring that a couple of years ago, I went to an auction not to buy an Aggie ring, but it was there. I couldn't figure out why an Aggie ring would be in an auction. Some guys behind me were trying to buy it for the gold. Obviously, I didn't let that happen. But that ring has taken me on a journey that has meant a lot to me. When I looked inside the ring, name was Alexander Henry Beville. And so I set out to try to figure out who he was, and found out he was from Waco, Texas, a member of the Corps, graduated in 41, and entered the Army, and of course went into World War II right away and was killed in Italy. His very best friend was Paul Haynes, class of 41, from Waco, Deputy Corps Commander. You might remember I said Bill Becker, my friend from Kaufman, was the Corps Commander. Those 2 boys were such good friends in high school that they were called Damon and Pythias by their classmates. For you Greek mythology experts out there, Damon and Pythias were the epitome of friendship. Those 2 were willing to give their lives for each other. You will have friends like that when you get done here at A&M. I have some. They're here in the audience today. Well, in my journey to find out more about Henry Beville, I met his best friend's, Paul Haynes' younger brother, Lamar Haynes, a couple of weeks ago. Lamar's class of 44. He was wearing his older brother's ring, class of 41 ring. I was wearing Henry's ring. We realized that was the first time that these rings had been reunited since 1941, 70 years ago. And I can tell you today is the first time these rings have been in Aggie land, because my special guest is Lamar Haynes, class of 44. Wave your hat there, Lamar. Lamar was fighting the same battle in Germany right after the Battle of the Bulge. He was only 10 or 15 miles away from where his brother was when he was killed in a tank battle. I'll just give you a short microcosm, because I'm writing a story about this ring, and the ring and the story goes to A&M when I get done, and hopefully I will in another couple months. But this Aggie ring connects us all. Paul and Lamar's nephew is Wayne Edwards, I found out, class of 72. And guess what? He was one of my very best students when I was a T-38 instructor pilot back in the early 70s. His daughter, Sarah, class of 07, works for A&M. She'll be working with you on big event today. So it's kind of like that 6 degrees of separation thing. This Aggie ring really does connect us. If you don't remember another thing today, at least that I've said, I want you to remember the power of this Aggie ring, and more specifically, the crest. And what does it stand for? It symbolizes the protection of the reputation of Texas A&M. Maintaining that reputation is my responsibility and your responsibility, and we've got to act accordingly. To help you remember that, you all know the giant ring behind Clayton Williams Alumni Center, the 1946 ring. It has a crest on it. It's removable. There's only a few of us that know where that special tool is, so don't get any ideas about that. But in 2046, we're going to remove that crest, and there's a time capsule in there. And Fish Thompson's last dream is that you will all live long enough to be there with me, because I want you to celebrate my 100th birthday when we open up that. See you there. Gig 'em.
John A. Adams, Jr., class of 73, received a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and a PhD in history from Texas A&M. He also completed the Southwestern Graduate School of Banking at Southern Methodist University and holds certified economic developer credentials. Adams was a captain in the United States Air Force and served as president and CEO of Enterprise Florida Incorporated, which is the only public-private statewide economic development organization in the nation. Adams served as a delegate to the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade Negotiations in Geneva, an advisor to the World Trade Organization, chairman of the Industry Sector Advisory Council for Trade Policy Review at the U.S. Department of Commerce, and has provided congressional testimony on U.S.-Mexico border infrastructure issues. He was an adjunct professor of the International Banking and Finance at Texas A&M International University in Laredo, Texas. Adams is the author of several books on Texas A&M and the Corps of Cadets: We Are the Aggies, Softly Call the Muster, Keepers of the Spirit, and co-author of Texas Aggies Go to War, as well as many other books on international trade, economic development, and history. As a cadet, he was commander of Squadron 1 and a Ross Volunteer. John Adams, Jr., class of 73.
Thank you very much. It's indeed an honor. It's a singular honor to be here and to receive this. I think all these other older Aggies have had a lot to say, and as bringing up the tail end of this, I stand between you and the exit. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Sherry, my great wife, and John and CJ. They put up with my gyrations around the world. As I've interviewed, I'm trying to figure out over 2,000 or 3,000 Aggies worldwide. From the late 1890s, Mary and Sophie Hudson, they were drinking Jack Daniels in New Orleans. They were 93 years old. They graduated in 1903, and they weren't officially students. Their father was a professor here, and they had let them receive civil engineering degrees. And one designed the Canal Street drainage system, and the other one designed the Port of Gulfport, all the way through cadets today. The stories are written in the uniforms and the times that you wear. I would dare say, I graduated in 73, and then we went into the 70s. There were a lot of us did not think we would keep this room full. The efforts to recruit, what you do for Texas A&M is second to none. There are two things that I'll leave in parting. This is a singular honor, second only to being a fish in the Corps. It was the greatest year of my life. It was a license to do everything you can imagine, and I did. For a time, I was fish hood walking back from the game when I whipped out. I was from Sherwood Forest taking archery. And when they drop handles and I would tell them I was robbing, I would be shining a lot of that brass and shoes that Mr. Davis talked about when I got back. I had a hell of a good time, and I hope you will too. I know you've got to attend some classes, you know. And while there still is an academic portion of this university, I want to leave you with two thoughts. Number one, Mark Twain said, never let schooling interfere with your education. I bought most of the books by my sophomore year, and it makes a great difference when you buy the books and you go to class. Because during my fish year, my two seniors next to me had me wear their biters, and I attended classes for them and answered for roll. So I got to see a lot of 400 classes when I was a freshman, Mr. President, of which I got no credit. But they graduated with honors. Go figure. My draft number was 2. September 17th was number 1 at that time during the Vietnam War, so I was motivated to graduate. But finally, one last thought. Aggies are the way they are because of what happens at Texas A&M.
your old lady, your squad, your outfit. Ken and I are sitting down there whispering about Ross volunteers. I said, were you the tallest tree? No, I was the second tallest tree. I was the right guide. That's what we're talking about that. I knew of Ken. We've met in the last 2 days. That bond, that commonness goes throughout your life, whether you're getting off an elevator in Hong Kong, working on a construction project up to your neck in mud in Chile, or just coming out of the middle of a firefight somewhere far off. Never forget that Aggies are the way they are because of A&M. It's all about that. Never not, unless it's obviously in a critical situation or military situation, never not wear your Aggie ring. You might lose your diploma, with all due respect. You might lose your Texas Aggie magazines. Again, with all due respect, the mail will catch up with you, but never be caught without your Aggie ring. Now, if it's a military situation or you're working on something that's dangerous, that's a different thing. But it's just, when I've leased and been in need or something or somewhere and walked into a room and want to know the commonality, I look down and there's an Aggie ring. Or someone looks down and sees my ring. It makes such a big difference. And with that, again, this is absolutely a singular honor. There's nothing greater than Texas A&M. It is the long maroon line that runs through the history, and you, the Corps, are truly the keepers of the spirit and the thread that makes unique A&M, the A&M that we love. Thank you very much.
Let's have one more round of applause for our inductees. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this morning's ceremony. I know you want to congratulate the newest Hall of Honor members. Please join us for a reception in the Rudder Exhibit Hall. Thank you all for coming, and be safe going home, and gig 'em.